Metropolitan Area Planning Agency Board of Directors. This meeting will be conducted in compliance with the Nebraska Statutes, Meeting Act.
Sound better the first time. I just have to turn the volume down on your computer.
For reference, the Open Meeting Act is posted on the wall of the board room. We're gonna let you get seated. You want hot chocolate before the meeting starts? They got it over there?
I am good.
You're good?
Yes.
Okay. I'll go ahead and move into agenda item A, which is the roll call, please.
Supervisor Scott Bell. Mayor Rusty Height.
Here.
Mayor Doug Kindig.
Here.
Commissioner David Klug.
Here.
Commissioner Chris Rogers. Councilmember Don Rowe.
Here.
Mayor Gene Stothert.
Jacqueline Morrison.
Supervisor Carol Benton. And Mayor Matt Walsh.
Here.
Agenda item B is approval of the agenda. Would I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve. Second.
Any questions? Liz?
Height.
Yes.
Klug.
Yes.
Rogers. Rowe.
Yes.
Morrison.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Kindig.
Yes. Item C of the board minutes, I would need a motion to approve from the October 26, 2023 meeting.
So moved. Second.
Any questions? Liz?
Height.
Yes.
Klug.
Stand.
Rowe.
Yes.
Morrison.
Yes.
Walsh.
Yes.
Kindig.
Yes. Item D are the agency reports. We'll start with Mike.
Sure. So some brief remarks today. So one event that I wanted to let you all know about, MAPA was the recipient of a Thriving Communities Technical Assistance Award. So it's one of these new programs that's available from bipartisan infrastructure law. And, when we applied, I don't know that we exactly knew what it was going to be, but we knew it would be helping provide some resources to work with the city of Omaha and Spark to look at North Omaha, look at the North Freeway, and kind of think about transportation planning process and really what could be realized through kind of a community engagement effort. And so in November, MAPA, myself, Keith Station from the mayor's office, and Clarice Dombeck from Spark went to national convening, which they've done for previous programs through USDOT and HUD in the past, of bringing all of the awardees together and talking about it. I'll just tell you, this was quite the event. That USDOT Secretary Buttigieg was there, basically all the senior staff and program staff were there, and really just a great opportunity to connect with other grantees across the country, as well as FHWA, USDOT staff. And so, they were very booster on going after pursuing funds, getting ourselves organized to do it. And we talked in this space quite a bit about, the need to accelerate to kind of access some of those opportunities because it is a 5-year bill. We're obviously working on some of that, but just a tremendous opportunity to connect on all of that. Really good trip. It was jam-packed days. And so grateful for that. And they paid for the travel out there. And so it's a great opportunity. Christina, if you want to go to the next slide. Oops.
These slides that have image not work.
Okay, well, just imagine the state of Nebraska not all jumbled up. But through the digital equity planning process, MAPA's statewide association in Nebraska, the Nebraska Regional Officials Council, or NROC, has really supported the state's efforts around digital equity, broadband engagement, and a lot of that. We're getting to this next phase, the BEAD program, the Broadband Enhanced Access and Deployment, I think is the name of it. The D is deployment, that's all I can really recall off the top of my head. This is the large program that was through the bipartisan infrastructure law. The states are getting, I think in Nebraska, about $400 million. In Iowa, it's about $400 million as well to allocate towards broadband deployment. In the metro area, we have fewer gaps, fewer unserved and underserved households, but kind of statewide and within the sort of the broader MAPA region, there are some priority areas. And so NROC has reached out to the broadband office to kind of continue being a partner in that. There's a lot of things in what are called volume 1 and volume 2. Their plan for those funds that are about grant administration, about stakeholder engagement, and things that, economic development districts, COGS are kind of uniquely positioned to do, including even like Davis-Bacon review. and things like that on some of the federal funds expenditures. And so there's an opportunity there, more to come on all of that. You know, we submitted our kind of formal request or formal comment through the process, but we think it's a good opportunity in the way of staying engaged on something that we hear across our region is an important economic development topic for residents and businesses. Christina, if you want to go on. So early in November, Laura attended in person and I participated virtually for a group called One Gaston. So it's in North Carolina, Charlotte metropolitan area. And they have been working with us for about, I think, a year and a half now, doing a very similar vision of their own, trying to learn what they can from the Heartland 2050 effort. In a lot of ways, a very kind of similar process, but just for accounting. And looking at, you know, how to do a collective impact project, you know, what are some of the lessons learned, you know, what kind of organizational support looked like. And so it's been a great opportunity for us to network with them. We've presented and kind of facilitated about an hour-long piece and then a question and answer about some of this work. But then also, you know, they had a panel that kind of followed on and, you know, really kind of listened to what they thought we could do. Laura, I don't know if you have any other thoughts on it, but it was a really interesting opportunity to kind of reflect ourselves on Heartland 2050, where we were, how we got here.
Yeah, it's a good opportunity for us to kind of like think about that message and think about looking back over kind of 10 years, but you know, they just developed their vision and were curious about how to move into implementation. So we really just talked a lot about like what that looked like, what some of the tips and tricks, what some of the successes or things we thought we would do better. So I feel like it was really successful. They were really pleased and energized and excited as they kind of kick off that implementation part of their process.
Next slide, Christina. So another reminder, just our project selection cycle. Your staff are probably all very well aware that this is happening, but in January, applications are due for our federal transportation dollars, and you know, our transportation and data staff have been out meeting with, I think, most of the jurisdictions that are eligible for these funds to date, or at least offered to meet with them if they're interested. But this is you know, first time in 2 years that we've done this. Another opportunity to again kind of stake out, you know, what are your priorities for transportation related projects, and if we can't fund it with our regional funding, then this kind of becomes our work plan, our game plan for how we access some of those other bipartisan infrastructure law opportunities as well, and try to make sure that we have resources to implement all of that. So a really important opportunity, similar to last 2 years ago, where we got about $250 million worth of requests. We don't have $250 million worth of funding, but it's given us a really strong foot forward to coordinate with our state partners and making sure that we're putting our best foot forward as a region and trying to make progress towards that acceleration that we talked about so much. Couple of other events coming up. Frontier Iowa Trails is our kind of affinity group of counties in Iowa that really have partnered to brand and really work on trail planning projects. So Potawatomi County, I would say probably the most active in terms of actually investing, but Shelby County, part of RTA 18, has done a number of projects. Mills County as well has done a few of them. There's interest in pursuing a Destination Iowa grant. This is kind of the new tourism kind of programs through Iowa Economic Development Administration. MAPA, we're coordinating with them. We're trying to see if there's a path forward. It's a pretty big ask. You know, it's 50-50 match and a minimum grant award of $3 million. I mean, that's a pretty sizable project. Kind of, you know, makes it so that, you know, it'd be more of a bundled approach. There's been some successful examples of that across the state and past awards, but just be on the lookout there. That would be a very regional project, very significant project if we do move forward, and there's going to be some conversations in January ahead of that deadline. And we talked about the Brownfields workshop in the past. We had it slated for right after Thanksgiving, kind of the following week, that magic fifth week of November, that nothing's scheduled. But the staff from the state and the feds weren't available. We're bumping it out to January 30th in Carson, Iowa, to talk a little bit about the resources available for all of the communities in our region, private businesses, private landowners, about brownfields, and really kind of a complementary effort to what we did here in Omaha last year, more small community focused, more Iowa focused, and just co-hosting that with SWPCO as well to kind of broaden our reach. A lot of communities within SWPCO's region that could benefit from it as well. And then finally, annual membership survey. I think we've received about 25 responses to date, which again is more than we've received in the past. I think last year we had about 18. So we're excited about that. Another opportunity to kind of weigh in on MAPA's priorities and plans, past projects, future opportunities to coordinate. If you haven't participated, you're welcome to. If your staff is interested, we're welcome to. We used to have kind of an idea of getting one response per jurisdiction, but for so many of our members, you know, different departments have different priorities, and we just like as much engagement as we can so that we can shape our work program in the upcoming year. And then a couple of staffing items as well. I'll talk about the memberships, or I just did talk about memberships. So I got 2 slides, I'll go to that. A couple of staffing updates. So Travis Holm from our transportation team, who's presented here a couple of times, took a job with Iowa DOT this past month. So he's actually going to be the MPO RPA coordinator. So he will actually be working on, will basically be our representative at Iowa DOT going forward. So it's a good role for him. He's got family in Central Iowa. It's a good opportunity for him to move back closer to home and take that next step in his career, as well as Josh Corrigan. So we recognized Josh in October for his 10 years of service to MAPA, and he's going to be pursuing an opportunity with the Army Corps of Engineers, kind of going back to some of the work that he had done pre-MAPA, and taking that next step in his career as well. So, you know, we don't get a lot of people who work in the workplace for 10 years anymore. And so tremendously grateful for both Travis and Josh's contributions, but we've got jobs posted. So we've got Travis's position posted already, but Josh's position will be posted here soon. So if you have planners, transportation planners that you know of, or GIS professionals that you know of, pass them our way. So it was,
Don't be stealing from our city.
I said, yeah. You know people outside. Steal from the county. But that's all I have on the executive director.
All right, thank you. We got a staff update from Jim on safety performance and safe streets.
Good afternoon, thank you very much. Coming to talk to you about, this is actually our 6th round of setting targets for safety performance for the region, and talk about some other safety related planning items coming up here in January. So as a quick overview, the federal government sets the requirement for transportation planning that's done at the State Department of Transportation level, and MPOs are given the option to choose to set targets voluntarily. We do for this measure as well as for travel time reliability, because we recognize we're different than the state. Both Nebraska and Iowa, we have different needs, and we just want to make sure that we're providing information to the members and supporting planning. So we set targets for 5 performance measures. Those are number of fatalities, numbers of serious injuries, and then rates as a measure of vehicle miles traveled, as well as total non-motorist fatal and serious injuries. So the vehicle miles traveled in VMT is determined in our traffic reporting as we take traffic counts from all of our members and put it into a kind of a regional traffic model. And historically, we've come to you with targets that are set based upon a linear trend. We have made some adjustments to account for the fact that we do want to acknowledge that fatalities in serious injuries should go down. Historically, serious injuries actually have been dropping, but past this last year and this year, we are setting targets that are based upon the board's resolution to get to 0 fatalities and serious injuries by 2040. So we'll be taking that information from our traffic report, combining that with some crash data from the Departments of Transportation, and putting those targets together. The first step, we'll go to the MAPA Safety Committee. They'll meet again in January on the 10th. That group is historically, they provide a review of our targets, some TTAC membership, as well as some other safety experts and advocates from across the region support us in that review. And then we'll bring those to TTAC with the ultimate recommendation for approval to the board in January. On a related note, very excited, Safe Streets and Roads for All, we've made a selection for 2 consultants. There's a data support project and then an outreach. And we'll speak to it as CSAP, but a comprehensive safety action plan. And this is a very specific set of tasks that we need to accomplish to have a plan that makes us eligible for future implementation funds for Safe Streets. There have been communities that have seen pretty significant gains in projects. We have a good team on board for both of those projects. We just had a 2-hour scoping session this morning, so we're excited about what they can bring to the communities here. Just a quick overview. Again, the goal of the Safe Streets and Roads for All is to identify safety issues throughout the region. So we'll look at both state roads as well as local roads, but the projects are really meant to support projects which improve safety on local roads. So it's very much for our members, and we'll look to keep everybody involved. The first step for the safety committee will be presenting to them really kind of what it is, giving them some insight. We recognize that we need to bring more players to the table to be a part of that. And so they'll get a heads up and kind of form a, sorry. I think I'm 1-2. Okay, anyway, that safety committee is gonna kind of help us grow to a larger group of people. So for example, we haven't involved state level organizations like the Iowa Governor Transportation Traffic Safety Bureau and others. We'll be bringing these partners in to that safety community. For the study itself, the TTAC will be used as the technical advisory committee for the study, and this MAPA safety committee will kind of broaden that further stakeholders. Additional things that have taken place, you received in the read ahead, we've got a hard copy, the state's vulnerable road user safety assessments. This is a first time thing required by the bipartisan infrastructure law, but I think a really good opportunity assessment, data rich, process rich, that we can, I think, directly implement into safe streets and roads for all. In addition, Iowa Department of Transportation is finishing up their state strategic highway safety plan that should be finished here in a week or so. And Nebraska had just finished theirs last year. That vulnerable road user safety assessment is a standalone product for Iowa, just based upon timing. But in future years, it'll just become a regular part of their updates to the strategic highway safety plan. Again, a real quick overview of this comprehensive safety action plan. Within the Nebraska region, it'll be all the jurisdictions in Douglas and Sarpy County. In Iowa, it's Council Bluffs, Carter Lake, Crescent, and McClellan. And the reason behind that is all of the counties themselves have their own safety plan being developed to that same pot of money, safe streets and roads for all.
And I would just note too, yesterday we learned MAPA applied for a joint project with SWPCO to basically cover the remaining communities in Mills and Pot County, as well as the remaining part of SWPCO's region that weren't covered by that countywide plan. We were successful in securing those funds. So that'll be going through RPA 18, but it's really at this point, anywhere we have a transportation planning sort of role, we will be covered by a safety action plan. And so that's really exciting for us. It's excited to make sure that, you know, local communities have access to funds that'll be available through bipartisan infrastructure.
Yeah, absolutely. So we'll look to kick off this plan. I'll step back a little bit. So that project management, as I mentioned, the TTAC traditional transportation studies will have a technical group that gets together. TTAC will be doing that alongside their normal duties. That MAPA safety committee with community stakeholders and consultant teams focus on data support and outreach and development of that plan. We'll look to kick off the project in March with a action plan complete in April of 2025, and the importance of that date is we hope that will stay within the window of that 2025 notice of funding for funds that could be put forward to implementation, future study if we needed to, or possibly pilot programs. And we'll look to close out by the end of September in 2025. I don't think we're going to go through any specifics on the vulnerable road user, but
You've got a copy of it if you're interested. It's in the Nebraska version.
Any further questions or discussion? Thank you. Item E is actually public comments. I don't see anyone here. Liz, did we have any requests?
No.
All right, want to give them an opportunity. Item F is the consent agenda. What's that?
motion approved.
Second. Discussion, questions, all?
Not at this time.
Liz?
Hi,
Yes.
Claire.
Yeah.
Rowe,
Yes.
Morrison,
Yes.
Walsh,
Yes.
Indig.
Yes. Item G, actually, we have no old business. I'll move right into item H, which is new business. Just one item, it's under new contracts. We can take all of these at once unless you want to separate them.
I think we should separate them just based
Okay.
on kind of structure here, but for item A, this is our contract with Pictometry or Eagle View for the aerial photography project that MAPA sponsors, the Nebraska Iowa Regional Photography Consortium. So this is, you know, a really large contract that MAPA administers on behalf of our locals. We talked about it kind of as we've gone through this process over the last really year or so now. But all 6 counties of MAPA's region are participating. There's other special purpose units of government that are participating. OPPD, MUD, Airport Authority, and actually Lower Platte South NRD, in addition to Lancaster County, who has kind of participated in the past in NIROC, and it just makes it easier for them to kind of get routine access to aerial photography by partnering with NAPA. So this is a very large contract. So it is a $4.7 million contract over 6 years. And the important thing here to note is that MAPA doesn't pay for any of these funds. These are contributions from all of our local jurisdictions based on the aerial photography products that they want. It's larger in size and scope than in past years because many more of our counties have opted into the ortho photography. So that's the kind of bird's eye view photography, excuse me, not ortho photography, oblique photography, excuse me. That's the bird's eye view, kind of that thing that you can see online. It's really useful for assessors to see, and other departments to see, changes to properties and other things like that. It's a really substantial contract that MAPA helps support. And really, it's great for us just to have kind of this standing contract. Each year, the local jurisdictions get to decide what products they want. They get to refine it. If they want to do every 2 years, they have that option. If they want to do every 3 years, they have that option. Some of our communities want to do it every year, actually get new imagery every year. And so that's available through this too. So this master agreement serves to kind of underpin that coordination that happens each year. On the other side note, because this is going through MAPA, and MAPA basically takes the funding from local jurisdictions, their investment in this, and pays it to pictometry. It also, as you may recall from our budget, constitutes a pretty significant portion of our match for our transportation planning activities. And it is really a very useful way of providing a joint purchasing, one, service, but then two, reducing the burden on MAPA for actual dues and local match that's required for our planning activities. So with that, this has gone through a significant amount of reviews, including legal review, which has actually amended in language about the jurisdiction of Nebraska being here. We've had some references to New York state law and everything like that. So City of Omaha law has reviewed this, and we've made those changes in addition to making it all coherent with all the exhibits and everything like that. So with your approval today, we'll pursue this with implementing this with pictometry, get those flights scheduled for basically mid-March to April of this year to get that first round of photography while the leaves are still on the trees.
Any further questions for Mike? Kind of a motion to approve.
Motion, Mike. Second.
Any further discussion? Liz?
Hike,
Yes.
Clue,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Morrison, yes, Walsh,
Yes.
Kiddick.
Yes. Agenda item B is our enterprise resource planning. Item 1 is presentation from Barry Dunn from David.
Everyone, I'm David Levitt with Barry Dunn. I'm gonna try and do this as quickly as possible so I don't get nexted by Mr. Walsh too. I'm a little nervous. I need to have a quick trigger. A little bit about what I want to cover today, and again, I'll be brief. Some of the slides are pretty informational, but we'll go through our overall project approach, how we got here, the analysis of the 2 vendors we have in place, our scoring methodology for those vendors, and then our evaluation team of recommendation. So in terms of our project approach, Barry Dunn was hired in this capacity to review the technology in place, or in most cases lack thereof, and determine how we could go to market for an ERP system, come up with something that would replace the Blackbaud and ADP and a bunch of those other systems. That was in projects A and B. C is actually the implementation of that effect. When I say optional, if the system is selected, gone under contract, it's optional from a Barry Dunn perspective. We will help with implementation based on MAPA's recommendation, not just that the implementation is optional in itself. So with project B, in terms of an RFP package that went out, facilitating the rounds of scoring, preparing for reference checks of similar agencies to try and find a software platform that would adhere to some of the MAPA's unique needs with funding streams and things of that nature, is really where we started with project B. Project A was all about the needs and what we could do. Project B was about procuring and getting to a point where we can get towards a system for selection to bring to you all today. In terms of our final vendor comparison, 2 very familiar vendors in the market for just overall, I'm going to say, brand recognition. Tyler Technologies is widely used across the public sector, cities, counties, towns, special purpose districts, all of the above. Oracle, though they're, they've got their name on sports arenas and things of that nature, they are relatively new to the local government space. So the product specifically from Tyler was their Encode product, and then Oracle NetSuite. So again, I'm not going to read that. I know you guys can't squint and read that. A couple of things that I just want to make sure you're aware of with both of these is the typical ERP decision today lasts around 12 to 15 years. In both of the solutions that we're looking at, they were SaaS offerings or software as a service or cloud offerings. That's probably a better way to put it, which means that they're not being stored on any local on-premise. The disaster recovery is all done. It's all encompassed in each of the contracts. The big thing, I guess, to recognize with each product is kind of the trajectory going forward. In terms of the Tyler Technologies product, it is their middle tier offering, and with Oracle, it is their offering that they configured for local government. The main thing that we talked about with both of these vendors in this case was when it comes down to ongoing maintenance and support. So the implementation portion, relatively short period of time. Again, that next 12 to 15 years is that ongoing maintenance period that you're paying for. And we thought it was really important to really look into the software license agreement with each vendor. The main thing I guess I want to point out is that despite the fact that there aren't any servers that are housing the software, with someone like Oracle, to a system outage, they'll respond and work on a remedy within 15 minutes. And these software license agreements are often non-negotiable. They just are what they are. It's that quick thing you see on your iPhone when you say agree and push on, those kinds of things. But taking it into here, I just wanted to really keep this just so you guys can take a look at the two that we were looking at. But again, this ongoing support is something that is extremely important and was one of the areas of focus for the vendor references. In terms of the scoring criteria, it was essentially 3 phases. So you had proposal scoring in terms of functional and technical requirements, how does the software meet our needs, how do they perform with vendor demonstrations, and then reaching out to peer agencies that have implemented the product and will they do what they say and say what they'll do, that kind of thing. So again, looking at phase 1, handwritten proposals, interviews and demos, and then these different reference checks. The interviews and demos took place. They were they were about a day's length for each vendor. So it's getting to meet their teams, see the product in action, and things of that nature. So we got a good chance to ask them questions, interact, see how the products will perform. When it came down to reference checks, each vendor submitted vendors that are current clients that could provide us any insight. From our perspective, when you're thinking about like a job reference, certainly you're never going to give somebody that's going to give you a core recommendation. It's slightly different in the software world. Just not that long ago, we had a particular client that we called and they said, well, it's funny they use us as a reference because as of next month, we're going with a new vendor. It's the public sector. You can share knowledge, and ideally we're using lessons learned into a future contract and looking at anything that we could potentially put in to protect the agency from that perspective. When it comes down to the final point scoring, Oracle had 116.7 points. Tyler Technologies, the Encode solution, had 94.7. You see how it's broken up by the different rounds of scoring there with our evaluation team. One of the things that I'd like to point out is that Tyler Technologies their references chose not to participate. And while that can be looked at being potentially negative, they do have quite a wide swath of customers and we could not get them to complete everything that they needed. If you're aware of Tyler in the marketplace today, you could easily say, well, just go down the street and ask how they did with their implementation. There are so many different products that we wanted to have a like product that was proposed with similar scope, similar challenges as MAPA. And though Oracle has been on the market for, I'm going to say less time, they were very quick to respond and overall had relatively good feedback for their implementation teams, went on time and on budget and things of that nature. So in terms of the evaluation team, Christina is on our evaluation team. So if there's anything that I did miss, what we would recommend at this point in the evaluation team is that we move forward into contract negotiations with Oracle NetSuite. for a statement of work for their implementation services as well as ongoing support. Christina, is there anything that I missed going as quickly as I could?
No, I don't think so, but I'm happy to answer any specific questions that anyone may have.
I would note too, with the NetSuite recommendations, one of those recommendations is actually from another council of government as well, who had, not just a kind of a similar, sort of software offering and usage, but also similar use case, similar types of flows and projects and like. So it was heartening that, even with a, kind of a newer software offering that they spoke highly of both kind of the software itself and also the implementation support from the vendor as well. Responding to the unique challenges of kind of the way we do business.
Yeah, one thing I'd comment too is, in today's marketplace, there's a lot of, funds traveling around to make the software marketplace very, very active. Oracle NetSuite came with a pretty competitive best and final offer preemptively, like they want MAPA's business and their folks came from all areas of the country to have meetings on site here with folks, and that actually spoke volumes to me. Any specific questions?
Anything for David?
So I would just note, on the action today, this isn't a selection of, like, we're not actually approving a contract. It's not a financial obligation to MAPA. That will come after we go through negotiations. While, our RFP had, a litany of things that we, asked them to respond to, they responded to a portion of those, and we still have to make a decision at the margins about, what's in, what's out, what the financial implications of all that is, and that would be another action by the board. Because this is a consequential thing for ongoing budget considerations for the board, we wanted to kind of have this conversation about the process and make sure that the board kind of assented to, our recommendation and approach to this. That contract will be a separate action item, possibly in January, if we can get through that process.
I would add also that this project ties in with our strategic plan and our goals for our strategic plan to streamline our processes internally, particularly on our department as well as project management. So this does align with that strategic plan.
Any further questions or discussion? I can move on and we could have a motion to approve the final vendor.
So moved. Second.
Liz?
Height,
Yes.
Klug,
Yes.
Rowe,
Yes.
Morrison. Yes. Walsh,
Yes.
Kende.
Yes. Any further discussion from the agency? No additional business. I call this meeting adjourned. Everybody really have a blessed holiday. I hope you get a spend family and we'll see you next year.
Thank you. Don't forget your cookies and cocoa.
That's right. I'm kind of full. Sugar, right?
If your office is anything like ours, it's covered in sweets already.
I know.
It's almost too much.
Thank you.
But you're welcome.
Yeah. How about you?